The question no one asked, everyone wanted to know how Hillary reached the summit, but no one asked the right question. The right question wasn't how did you climb it? The right question was, why did you survive when so many others didn't? Because Everest had killed before. Many times. Expert climbers, experienced mountaineers, people stronger than Hillary, people better prepared. They all died. But Hillary lived. Why? The secret Hillary kept. There was something Hillary never told the reporters, something he kept hidden for years. At the summit, standing at the highest point on Earth, he didn't feel triumph. He felt terror. Pure, absolute terror. Because in that moment, looking down at the world below, he realized something horrifying. He had no idea how to get back down. The route up was clear. Follow the ridge, climb the wall, push forward. But going down, in his exhausted state, with no oxygen, in weather that could turn deadly at any moment. That was a completely different challenge, and he wasn't sure he could do it, but he couldn't say that. Not to Tenzing, not to the team, not to himself. So he smiled, shook hands, took the photo, and buried his fear deep inside. The moment that changed everything, on the descent, about 2 hours below the summit, something happened. Hillary was leading. Tenzing was behind him. They were moving slowly, carefully, down the icy slope. Then Hillary heard it. A crack. Soft. Almost inaudible, but unmistakable. Ice-breaking. He froze. Didn't move a muscle. The snow beneath his feet was unstable, an avalanche waiting to happen. One wrong move, and the entire slope would collapse, taking him with it. Tenzing saw him stop. What's wrong? Hillary didn't answer. Couldn't answer. His mind was racing. Calculating. Where could he step? Which direction was safe? How could he move without triggering the collapse? Seconds passed. Felt like hours. Then very slowly, Hillary shifted his weight, tested the snow, felt it hold. He took one step. Carefully. Deliberately. The snow held. Another step. Still holding. Another and another. Until finally, he reached solid ground. He turned to Tenzing. His face was white. Don't follow my exact steps. Go around to the left. Tenzing nodded, moved carefully, made it across. They didn't speak about it afterward, but they both knew. Hillary had just walked across a death trap and survived by pure luck. The part history forgot. When Hillary returned to base camp, the celebration began immediately. Champagne. Congratulations. Telegrams from around the world. But one person wasn't celebrating. George Lowe. Hillary's best friend. The climber who had supported Hillary throughout the expedition. He pulled Hillary aside, away from the crowd. Tell me the truth, George said quietly. Was it worth it? Hillary looked at him, confused. What do you mean? The risk, the danger. You almost died up there, multiple times. Was reaching that summit worth your life? Hillary opened his mouth to answer, then stopped, because he didn't know. In the moment, yes. Absolutely. He would have given anything to reach that summit. But now, standing here alive, looking back at how close he came to dying, he wasn't sure anymore. I don't know, he said honestly. Ask me in 10 years. George nodded. Fair enough. They never spoke about it again. But that conversation haunted Hillary for the rest of his life. The letter he never sent. 3 months after Everest, Hillary wrote a letter to his wife, Louise. He never sent it. Years later, after his death, his family found it in his desk drawer. The letter said, Dear Louise, everyone thinks I'm a hero. They think I conquered Everest. They think I'm fearless. But the truth is, I was terrified. Every single step, every single moment. I wanted to turn back 100 times. I wanted to give up. I wanted to be safe at home with you and the children. But I kept going. Not because I was brave, but because I was more afraid of living with regret than I was of dying on that mountain. And now I'm here, alive, successful, famous. But I can't stop thinking, what if I had fallen? What if I had died up there? Was it worth leaving you alone? Was it worth risking never seeing our children grow up? I don't have an answer. All I know is that I made a choice, and I have to live with it. I hope you can forgive me for being selfish enough to chase a dream that could have taken me away from you forever. Love, Edmund. Well, he never sent it because he couldn't face her answer. What if she said no? What if she said it wasn't worth it? He couldn't bear that truth. The climber who warned him. Before the 1953 expedition, Hillary met an old climber in a pub in London. The man's name was Maurice Wilson. He had attempted Everest in alone, without permission, without proper equipment. He died on the mountain. But before he left, someone asked him, "Why are you doing this? Why risk your life?" Wilson answered, "Because if I don't, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering what if." Hillary never forgot those words. Years later, when people asked him why he climbed Everest, he would sometimes think of Wilson. And he would wonder, was Wilson brave, or was he foolish? Was there even a difference? The question Tenzing never answered. After Everest, reporters asked Tenzing the same question over and over: who reached the summit first, you or Hillary? Tenzing always gave the same answer: we reached it together. But that wasn't the full truth. One of them stepped onto the summit first. One of them was technically the first human to stand at the highest point on Earth. Tenzing knew who it was. Hillary knew who it was. But they made a pact. They would never tell anyone. Why? Because it didn't matter. The achievement was shared. The victory was shared. But people wouldn't see it that way. People would want a winner, a first place, a hero. And both Hillary and Tenzing knew the moment they revealed who stepped first, the other would be forgotten. So they kept it secret. To this day, no one knows for certain. Some historians think it was Hillary. Some think it was Tenzing. But the truth died with them. And maybe that's how it should be. The nightmare. For years after Everest, Hillary had the same nightmare. He would dream he was at the summit again, standing at the top, feeling victorious. Then he would turn around to descend, but the mountain was gone. Just empty air. Thousands of meters of nothing below him. He would try to climb down, but there was nothing to grab, nothing to step on. He would start falling, faster and faster. The ground rushing up to meet him. And just before impact, he would wake up, sweating, heart racing, gasping for air. It happened dozens of times, sometimes multiple times a week. His wife would hold him. "It's okay. You're safe. You're home." But Hillary never felt truly safe again, because part of him was still up there, on that mountain, in that moment of terror, and it never let him go. The thing he regretted most. In 1975, Hillary returned to Nepal to visit the Sherpa communities, to see the schools he had built. An old Sherpa man approached him, a man who had been on the 1953 expedition, not as a climber but as a porter. "Sir Edmund," the man said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you ever wish you hadn't climbed Everest?" Hillary was taken aback. No one had ever asked him that before. He thought for a long moment. Then he said, "Sometimes, yes." "Why?" "Because it changed everything. My life, my family, my identity. I became the man who climbed Everest, and I could never be just Edmund again." The old man nodded. "That is the price of greatness. You cannot climb the highest mountain and remain a small man." Hillary never forgot that conversation. Because it was true. Everest had given him everything and taken everything away. The real reason he climbed. Near the end of his life, a young journalist asked Hillary, "Why did you really climb Everest? What was the real reason?" Hillary smiled, a tired smile. "You want to know the truth?" "Yes. I climbed it because I was afraid." The journalist frowned. "Afraid? Of what?" "Of being ordinary, of living a normal life, of dying without ever pushing my limits, of looking back at my life and seeing nothing remarkable." So it was about ego. No. It was about fear. Fear that I wasn't capable of greatness. Fear that I would never know what I was truly made of. And did climbing Everest answer that question? Hillary shook his head. No, it just created new questions. The ending no one expected. Hillary died in 2008, at age 88, in a hospital in Auckland, New Zealand. His last words were to his son, Peter. Peter leaned close. "Dad, can you hear me?" Hillary nodded weakly. "What are you thinking about?" Hillary closed his eyes and whispered, "I'm thinking about the descent." Peter frowned. What descent? But Hillary didn't answer. He had already slipped away. Later, Peter would wonder what his father meant. The descent from Everest? The descent into old age? The descent into death? Or maybe something else entirely. A metaphor for life itself. The understanding that every summit is followed by a descent. Every victory by a return to normal. every moment of glory by quiet obscurity, and that the descent is always harder than the climb.